Hey everybody, welcome to another model building workshop here on the Providence Community Library YouTube channel. That's provcomlib.org. I'm Mr. Allen here in Providence, Rhode Island at the Smith Hill Library, part of the Providence Community Library, and we're going to work on a T-55 battle tank, Soviet main battle tank. This is an old ESCI ERTL kit. And I picked this up a while back at a bargain shop. Rhode Island's got a few of those. I'm sure wherever you guys are, you have these bargain shops that sell, assorted odds and ends and so forth. And so that they had a stack of these tanks kits that were going for about, I think, $3 and change a piece, which is pretty spectacular. So I grabbed a bunch and I brought them in here to the library. And we were working on building these kits, and then COVID struck. So we've got a lot of these sitting around, and some of them are in various states of assembly. And now that it's been over a year now, sadly, these things have been sitting here. So I'm going to work on one of these that somebody started and show you how it goes. So this is an old kit, but it's a pretty good one. Oh, there's a date on this. I think this is from maybe the early 90s, I'm guessing. But this is not a bad kit. I believe ERTL Models from Italy has pretty much bought these molds and is repackaging this kit now, so I think you can still get this one. But since this one came out, there's a lot of other manufacturers, model companies that have produced models of this. Tamiya now has one, Mini Art has a line of these, Trumpeter has a line. So there's a lot of these kits out there now, so there's a lot of variety. This kit may not have the detail of some of the newer ones, but it's still pretty good. And one thing I liked about these is that it's a good base model if you wanted to get a conversion kit. They do sell these different conversion kits out there, usually made of resin or various mixed media model pit parts. And so I've done one of these with different converting pieces. So for example, there's one of an Iraqi, which was referred to as the Enigma, and I'll show you a photo at a future episode, where they added these extra armor plates on the side and the front, which I think were made out of various things like cement and so forth. I bought a Verlinden accessory kit and did one of these up that way. Tamiya now makes the Enigma in a regular plastic model kit now, but back when I built it, they didn't have that option. But there's other things you can do with this kit too. I mean, there's different turrets you can get for different, if you want to backdate them. And I've seen conversion kits that you could put a bulldozer blade in the front or a mine roller to when they cleared minefields. So this kit's not bad to work with if you want to try to do things like that as well. Some of the detail on this is really good, and some of it's a little, one of the weak spots I thought on this kit, I don't know if I can show you, the turret machine gun is a little iffy, shall we say. I don't know if it's in the box here. It's not every one of the, yeah, it's here. So there's different variants of this kit with and without the machine gun. Okay, here's the machine gun. I don't know if you can see it. The detail on that is not the greatest. It's not horrible either, but I've definitely seen better variants of that, for example. But this is not a bad kit, and I'm going to show you some of how this goes together. So you can see the parts are there. And the complexity of this is mid-range maybe. My nephew was able to build one of these when he was a teen, and I had teens working on these kits, like I said, just before the pandemic broke out. The tracks are a combination of link and length. Don't be scared, I didn't find these to be that terrible. There's flat pieces, and you do the individual ones around the front and back wheels and then put the other flat pieces in. I found it was successful to do, because I've done a few of these now. Because one thing that's fun about the T-55, the T-55 is a Soviet tank from the 1950s, which is still in wide use around the world today. Many nations use this, probably more than we can count. So it's a very prolific design, and it's been exported just about everywhere, and it's been encountered in many modern conflicts around the world, notably the Middle East. These were used in the Arab-Israeli wars in the 60s and 70s. These played a prominent role in the wars in Iraq and the Persian Gulf in 1991 and 2003, and in various battles across the Middle East, the wars in the 1990s with the former Yugoslavia, and then conflicts in Russia with some of the separatist movements there. So these are seeing a lot of use all over the globe, and unfortunately there's a lot of conflict going on. There's the negative side, of course. Anyway, so we're going to get on with looking at this kit. So what I had done for the kids is I took the instruction sheet, which was a big fold out, like a map. Not the greatest sheet to work with. So what I ended up doing is I just photocopied and blew up the pictures to make it far easier, more clear for youth to use. Like that, which I think is a lot helpful, because one thing that's tough when you get those big fold-out map size instruction sheets is it's overwhelming, and the kids are like, whoa, where do you even start with this, And if you just break it down into the individual little assemblies, it's a lot more manageable, and you're going to stop the kids from hyperventilating, basically. So, and they were, doing a reasonable job, though it was taking them a long time. So we did several sessions before, the pandemic struck, and most of the youth got as far as getting the turrets together, or most of it together, and some of the sub-assemblies that go with that. So we have a turret that's under construction here. There's a few issues with this, nothing terrible. So I'm going to think about this as I proceed with this kit, what I'm going to do. Because like I said, there's a lot of conversion kits out there that maybe this is something I might want to play around with. I don't know. I'm just noticing it's in the basement. It's been sitting here a while. It might be time to do something with this and try to clear some space. Granted, I feel bad about the fact that it's been sitting here, and the kid that was working on it, But what are you going to do? So, we're going to use it for a lesson. Something you guys might enjoy. Okay, so I'm going to start with doing some of the wheels. I don't want to do all of them here. I don't want to bore you with the monotonous detail of putting every single pair of wheels together, because it'll be a long video and you're going to lose your mind. So, on the plus side, the T-55 doesn't have that many wheels. They have these rather large road wheels, which makes life a lot simpler and apparently makes the ride a lot smoother in the tank. So I'm going to put a couple of these wheels together, A7 and A8. One thing that's nice about the tires on the T-55s is that they're fairly large. Well, the tire space. Hang on, I'll explain that better in a second. Because you've got the wheel hub, right? But you also have the tire that's going around it. You can see the indent, the protrusion here for the rim, and then there's the black. This would be black, the tire on the outside. So when you're painting tires, which is one of the most tedious things to do on a model tank kit, but the results look fantastic if you do them. So that's a pretty good surface to try painting. It's big enough you don't lose your eyesight working on these tires. Because there's some tanks, for those of you out there that are tank nerds like I am, for example, like a Matilda tank with an itty bitty pile of wheels, or the Churchills. Some of those British infantry tanks with lots and lots of little tiny wheels. You know, I go, ah. So these are pretty big. And I know it was a relief for the kids because that tends to be one of the biggest deal breakers in building a tank, is when you look at the suspension, you say, how am I going to put all those wheels together? Because a lot of kids are like, no thank you. Because patience is the biggest thing you're trying to teach with this hobby, that and following directions. Two things which can be a challenge, right? Okay, so let's try to get some glue on this. I know it's cement, but we'll just call it glue for the moment. Okay. Should have checked that part first. Little hole in the back of the tires. That needs to be opened up. I don't think it's going to focus on that, unfortunately. One of the downsides of the technology here in some of these devices is that it gets very focused on trying to zoom in on my face and not on the parts I want to show you. But anyhow, fun of the city, you can hear all kinds of things happening outside. All right, and that's it. So it's a pair double wheels as such. It's a Friday morning here in the city. Anything can happen. It's a bustling neighborhood anyway, which makes it kind of fun. Okay, so is that. I'm going to get the drive sprocket together and the rear idler wheel. Sorry, in this tank, it's a rear drive sprocket and a front idler wheel. Good, remember, some of the Russian designs are different. So where you place the drive sprocket, it just depends if you're going to be pushing the track forward or pulling the track forward. It seems in recent times that they've been putting the drive in the back, kind of pulling the treads. You know what I mean? If you think about it. Not quite sure how I'm going to do this tank. Because one thing that's interesting about the T-55, because they're in use all over the globe and they've been around and in frontline service since the 1950s, I mean, not only were they used with Russia and the former Soviet Union, but all the former Soviet republics have them in their inventory. China has them as well, although China began to produce their own variant, which has some slight differences, different engine covers, and some other innovations that China came up with. North Korea has them, although they probably have more of the Chinese variants. Iraq had lots and lots and lots of these. You know, in Syria, Egypt. Yeah, there's some cleanup got to do. I don't know if you can see that. Enormous bit of flash over here. That's where the knife blade comes in handy, just trims that right off. But like I said earlier, I got this for like $3 and change. I mean, granted, that was a number of years ago. My father and I bought a bunch of them, and we've been doing all kinds of different things with them over the years, different variants and so forth. And I guess my nephew built one, and I still have a pile of them, which is why we were doing them at the library here. The tough thing with this kit is that you want to have basically teenagers and old enough youth that can handle something of this level. And the teens here were doing it, but like I said, it was taking them a while. And they were a little intimidated, but they were doing good work with them. Had they had more time and had COVID not happened, you know, it would have been interesting to see what these projects would have developed. All right, let me get the drive sprocket. Awkward positions. The cleanup isn't all that bad on this. Like I said, there were some big pieces of flash, but they don't really fight much when you want to cut them off. Like this has got some, but it's not ghastly. Okay, not that bad. Oh, but there is a big, big piece of flash here. There's excess plastic. Although again, it's coming right off. But this is one of these kits, you're probably going to need to have one of these X-Acto knives handy. Just to scrape stuff like that off. Oops. It's not the best looking. This drive sprocket's gonna fight. Come on. You want to work, really you do. I think that's... no, not quite. Alright. Yeah, this is being a little annoying. What I might want to do with that is get a piece of track on there to make sure that it's lined up well enough. Dun, dun, dun. Dramatic music. Let me find a sheet that shows the tracks. One of these has it. Okay, I need a... Alright. I need to look at a reference photo to make sure you get the track teeth in the right direction. So I printed out photographs of different models for the kids, so they knew some different painting schemes.